Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Or, hold on, Tamurnin,
Good morning, Bill.
as we discussed yesterday. As soon as the cameras went off, I forgot how to form words with my moneymaker, if you
Yes,
will, and
yes.
just started saying tomornin, as in tomorrow morning. So I am now a conjunctionist. I'll be putting it on my LinkedIn profile later on today. It's going to say founder, author, podcaster, creator, conjunctionist.
Yes.
That's going to bring the people.
Conjunctionist. It was the missing. It was that last.
That's it.
You
That's
know.
it. No one's gonna be. I'm gonna be conjunctionist Bay. just just sprinkling apostrophes into things. It's gonna be awesome.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
man, how was yesterday?
It was good. It was good. I got neck deep in video training again. So
Nice.
yeah, it's good to have that.
Good morning, Mike Tao, man, Mr. Regular.
It's regular. Mike
Yeah,
Tao.
we
I
should we should have coffee delivered to Mike Tao since he's so consistent.
yeah.
Conjunctionist. Oh my gosh. Mike Simmons is here, everybody. Mike Simmons is another epic sales nerd, super rad guy who I met recently. And we do the same thing and just very, very cool person. If there's any other person on the planet who would appreciate conjunctionist in a LinkedIn headline, it is Mike Simmons. Good morning,
Here he
sir.
is. Here he is.
Good morning, Michelle. How are you?
Hey, Michelle.
So the training, are
Hold
you
on.
seeing new stuff? Are you seeing
Oh
old
yeah.
stuff? Is it all like, hey, I've seen this before? Like, man, come on, dish a little bit. Like you're sitting in all this training. Is it worth it?
I
Is it
know.
is it
I
worth
know.
the time?
Yeah, for sure, it is. It's because I'm. It's one of those interesting things where you're trying to go in and be part of a culture that's a really, really strong culture already. So you
Hmm.
have to learn the language. You have to understand the frameworks they already have built in place. And so the only way to really do that is surprise through practice,
What?
repetition of the right thing to do over and over. And so, yeah, I mean, largely, if I were to split them in like three types of calls, I'm doing what we've talked about a little bit on air is role playing with
Hmm.
hardcore sales trainers who want to
Super
get it right.
important.
And then I'm doing observations of coaches training clients. So I'm watching ones that
Good.
went well and ones that went bad.
Hmm.
And then the third kind is I'm just watching, you know,
Ooh, hold
education.
on. We have to go back a step because you almost missed this nugget. What is the common occurrence in the bad coaching calls?
Oh yeah, and I was just I was about to say something about taking notes, but you know, two things I've noticed so far is coaches getting on their heels, so clients starting to pull people down a road and them not taking back control of the conversation because it's just going someplace that doesn't need to go.
Yeah.
You know, so like just making sure to bring it back in and go, okay, great, understand what you're talking about. That's something we
Hmm.
can definitely talk about. But going back to what we just were, where we were just were, let's, asking the important questions because I found a lot of clients, and you know this, will love to ramble and
Hmm.
just talk about things that don't really matter. Um, well, maybe they do to them a little bit, but
That's such
bringing
a
you back.
That's such a fine line, though, right? Because, like, as
It
a
is.
coach, especially as a sales coach, right? I always have a topic to talk about. Always, always, always. Like I won't let myself go to a client session or client meeting unless I have something to go talk about. So it's just part of my pulse at this point, right?
Right.
But on the other hand of it is, I would almost rather always talk about something that they want to talk about, right? Because if it's like, okay, what's going on in your conversations? Well, John, I'm struggling with X. Okay,
Mhm.
great. Let's talk about that thing, right? And
Right.
then we'll talk it out as deeply as or as for as long as necessary. But they're like that's the thing they want to talk about, right? So just like a
Right.
prospect and like a cold
Yeah.
call or a cold networking thing, and you say, hey, what'd you do last weekend? And like, I just went down to this Renaissance fair. Oh, tell me about the Renaissance fair. Oh my gosh, right? And then they love you.
Right.
The same thing happens in coaching, right? So being able to, and some people don't. I have one client, and he doesn't ever want to talk about what I want to talk about. So like in the beginning of this, it's like, cool. Today we're gonna talk about, okay, John. Okay, 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 cool. Any questions? No, no questions at all. Okay, awesome. So what's been going on the call? And then he just turns and just instantly
Mhm.
has all these things. So learning styles matter here, right? Because some people need the connective tissue and how it relates to others, and then other people, honestly, just need to do it a lot, right? And we like, this was the hardest thing for me to learn in Kung Fu, because in Kung Fu, I'm always like, well, here's what this is called, and here's why it matters, and here's how it's connected to this. And some people don't resonate from that, right? And so then one of my older Kung Fu brothers are like, John, just make them do it more. Okay, cool. Like, just do 5 more. And that has its own quality of improvement of just like the reps and things like that. So
yeah, you said it. It's about balance, because you definitely want, as part of coaching, to be asking the most questions. You want to be leading the person to the places they need to go. But good morning, Ann.
Good morning, Ann.
See you back. Okay. Yep. But then there's also, you have to take people down a path so that they improve. And if they're not willing to walk the path, then that's when you have to bring them back on.
Yeah. And if you're just a stunning conversationalist that people enjoy spending 60 minutes of time with, but they're not actually ever improving or feeling like they're improving or something else like this, you might just be an accountability partner or essentially a therapist.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a coach. Coach is about challenging this other person to get, so that way they want to get the most out of their time and out of their effort and things like that. And not everybody's ready to be coached, which is another important, like, lots of people should be taught. Some people don't have the bandwidth to be coached, and that's okay.
No, nor the desire, really. So we can definitely agree that everyone's learning styles make a huge difference. And
yes,
that's part of the balance. Part of the balance for sure.
Of course, and I would love to hear this nugget that you got from Braden, all about the nuggets. That's awesome, because I think that a lot of people a lot of the bad coaches are just, okay, well, here's how I would do it, and here's how you need to do it, and stuff like this. And there's never, okay, cool, let's practice. Like, why wouldn't you take a rep to practice that conversation with someone if it's going to be potentially uncomfortable or potentially emotional or potentially fraught with like a bunch of like tangential off ramps that don't help either person in that conversation? That's why we practice.
Exactly. And I got a question for you on practice is, you can always practice, go back to your Kung Fu, right? Metaphor is that there's forms, and you can always practice forms. There's never a bad time to practice a form, right? It's foundation. However, a lot of times where we mess up is situational stuff. So like, we might know the form, but we don't know how to apply the form.
Yes.
So we do a lot, or to date, we've been doing a lot of practicing in, like, not high drama, but conflict.
Yeah.
Because if you can do it there, you can do it out of conflict.
Absolutely.
And it's been really challenging for me because I don't know the forms well yet. So I get into conflict and my forms just fold.
Yeah.
Right. But I still learn more than if I had just been sitting there, form.
Yes.
So is that do you like balance that out in coaching so that you get some of the high stress and some of the low stress, or like in your sales training? Like, how do you do that?
Great question. So, okay. In the beginning, you could, this is something my Kung Fu teacher taught me. In the beginning, you can only do one thing, right? And in the beginning of Kung Fu, that means you can just stand there, right? Like, you can't do anything else, right? So you have to learn how to position your feet, how to position your weight, where your weight is in your foot, because if it's in the wrong space, you're not gonna be able to generate power. You're gonna be on your heels. You're gonna be able to take advantage of. So the first thing you do is learn how to stand, which feels absurd because I already know how to stand, but not like I do. That's right. So just like you can open your mouth and words come out, not like these people do, right? So that first thing is you kind of have to show people. I had lunch with a jiu-jitsu guy yesterday. We were talking about this very thing, about like someone comes new into the school, right? And you get to roll with them. You get to be that first person, that first interaction of the greatness of this thing. And you can be an idiot, you can be nurturing and set them up for success and stuff like this. And so Sean was talking about how, he's like, I'm going to let them do their thing for a little bit. And then I'm going to, hey, okay, cool. This was me allowing you to have it. I'm going to ramp it up a little bit now. I'm not going to be as easy to choke, right? I'm going to fight back. And so then he kind of shows them, okay, great. And now this is me controlling the situation. And then he'll finish the role, with essentially manhandling the person, because he knows a bunch of technique and postures that they don't. Same thing happens in sales training, like, in my opinion. So ask me for some money. And start there. Like, okay, great. How do you want to ask for money? How do you want to talk about it? How do you talk about it? What is going to serve you well? What is not going to serve you well? And then here's what this is going to potentially feel like. And then let's do some practice reps. Let's gradually ramp it up from, Okay, can we talk about budget? Sure, we can talk about budget. This is our range, all the way up to, can we talk about budget? Oh, we can't share that with vendors. What are you gonna do then? Like,
Mhm.
because that stuff's gonna happen, right? If you're on the path for long enough. So it does have to get harder, because everyone's heard the story of the guy who knows all the forms who gets his ass whipped in the bar fight and stuff like this. Like, having the conceptual knowledge is not practical knowledge. So you have to be able to, in the forms, at least in most forms, are built to be practiced to individual things. One of my really good friends, Matt, one of the best kung fu people I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm stepping away from the mic so that I can show this. And one day I'm watching him do his forms, which you're not supposed to do, by the way, and I got in trouble for this. So I'm watching him do his forms, and actually, Matt is Michelle's brother-in-law. Just to kind of tie all that up, right? So he's doing this form, and he goes boom, 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 right? So he's just kind of like hitting right here in his elbow and lifting the arm. And I was like, well, that looks stupid. What is that for? And he goes, try to punch me. I was like, okay, cool. So I just like threw a punch in there, and he goes bloop and just caught it, right? So this is up under the elbow, this is trapping the hand, and it's an arm break. And I was like, oh, wow, that sucks. I should not have done that. And he was like, yeah, that's what it's for. Now, don't watch me do my forms. Go do your forms, And I was like, okay. And then I went around and I did this thing. So forms are meant to be broken down into drills, but the forms are the way that you pass the knowledge in an intact state. So that's what a book is for. That is what all these other things are for. But then you have to go out and practice. Like the Big Seven, I can teach anybody the Big Seven in about 10 minutes. It doesn't mean you're ready to go have a great conversation while knowing where your leverage points are, not getting emotionally invested, and staying at the calm place that you need to be while they're ramped up, because sometimes they're going to be, right? Sometimes it's your fault. Most times it's not. It's part of the weight you have to carry as a salesperson.
Yeah, for sure. Like the Karate Kid lied to you. You can't paint fences and all of a sudden just go win tournaments. That's not how it
No,
works.
does not work that way. Like that path is exponentially longer than getting into some real-time application of things. Like book learning is huge. I'm the biggest book nerd I think I've ever met. I love books. I just got one this morning, and I was so excited to like go get it off my porch, because I was reading an email that was like, oh, your book was delivered yesterday. And I was like, it's been on my porch for like almost a whole day. I have to go get it. It's a new book from Ryan Holiday I'm excited about.
Yep.
But you have to go and apply. You have to, like, just have to. Like, it doesn't work otherwise.
No substitution.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatsoever. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm getting my own reps in, and I'm watching other people get their reps in, and I'm taking the time to go back and have calls with some of those coaches and ask them how they would have done it better, what they thought they did wrong.
I like that.
So just trying to get every angle I can without actually stepping in the pond myself. That way, when I do get there, I have a little bit more head knowledge. Yeah. But the reps are huge.
Yeah, that's fair. What do you think about this thing that Anne's talking about? We have to capture our audience right away to keep their attention, and then they're more apt to listen. That really hit me. Well,
I think it depends on the context. I think online, that's probably an overall pretty decent approach, right? I mean, that's why we have strong email headlines. It's why we have strong, Tamarnin titles for podcasts. Yeah, so it depends on context.
So
overall, conceptually, yes.
Okay, so let me ask you some questions about this concept, because this is why we're here. Yeah. So does that mean that there's always pressure on the creator, on the content producer, creator, to have a very strong hook? Or is that only important when like you're kind of like ships passing in the night, but eventually if they do start to follow you, you gain trust and that pressure goes away? What do you think?
Well, let me ask a question to respond to that.
I'm asking the questions here. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
It is answering your question, but and then the endless week began. Do you enjoy reading people who pull you in quickly, or ones that you have to dig for the stuff that you like?
Well, here's the thing. I'm not any different than anybody else, right? If I don't know you and I'm just scrolling through my feeds, you have to grab me. Right. Have to grab me. Like, just fundamentally super important. But I was talking about this book a second ago. Like Ryan Holiday, I read lots of his stuff. I appreciate him as a marketer. That guy doesn't need to hook me in the first even 50 pages of this book, because I'm already that bought in. Now, do I want him to? Sure, absolutely. I want to have an amazing experience, but I'm willing to put in a little bit of effort to get to the nugget, as opposed to.
But I would argue that he's already got his hooks in you.
Of course he does. Yeah.
So that's why he doesn't need to hook you again, because they're already in.
Yeah.
So there always needs to be a hook.
So if you're following somebody, though,
Mhm.
you need to get the hooks in, but that doesn't necessarily mean you need to always be trying to hook. You don't always need to be
Correct.
super hyperbolic or clickbaity or James Altucher-ish. There I was again shooting basketball because I was once again poor and everything turned out to be okay. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you will always have to be working on hooks,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in somewhere. But I think the level of hooking, and it's also, once again, that's why I say context, because if we're talking about like a phone call, absolutely not. I mean, we're here, we've committed, we're going to have a conversation, right? A newsletter, maybe, but maybe not, because they've committed, they've seen it, they want the information. Great, we can deliver the information. However, I would say social media, general media, I think you almost always have to at least a little bit be hooking.
Yeah, interesting. If we don't ask the audience, so are you dropping a not so subtle hint that we should be asking more questions of the audience? I'm curious as to your thoughts on that. While we do that, what do you got today, man? Just more spectating of calls and drinking from the fire hose?
Some of that. I'm actually sitting on 2 client calls today as an observer.
Ooh, okay.
So it's like pretty early. I have only done that once before. So I get to watch a video training today, and I get to watch a scorecard session where they actually rate with their coach how their month went.
Very cool. I love that.
That should be fun.
So you get to be, and this is Jake. He's in training.
I'm that guy.
On the calls. Remember that waiting tables?
This is one of our new team members, Jake. Welcome him into the call. Everyone say hi, Jake.
Yeah.
Hi, Jake.
I remember being brand new, and my first day of waiting tables, the guy let me keep one tip from one of the tables. He kept all the other ones, right? And so then the next day, I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I was like, "So do I get to keep one of these?" And the server was like, "No." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. No worries."
If you were
but there. Then he just went around and they were like, "Okay, so this is John. He's new. Don't ask him any questions." Like he was just so over it. He didn't want to train anybody. He was that salty old veteran who was just like, good and consistent, but not the most nurturing person.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
This is a good question. Yeah, where are you working now, Jake?
It's called Impact Plus. Impact Plus is a
hold on a second. Okay, Bill. You just got asked what you do.
Oh no!
Give that 30-second commercial.
I'm not in a networking group right now. It's my show. I ain't got a network. We are a sales and marketing enablement company that helps you never have to hire an agency again. In 12 to 18 months of working with Impact Plus, you'll be able to create all the inbound content to create all the leads you need for the rest of your life, if you'd like. Would you like to hear more?
Man, that's a marketing 30-second commercial right there. I would be curious what these sales coaches who you have to role play with would give you feedback on about that 30-second commercial.
Me too. So yeah.
Oh gosh. So that's just the whole day. You just have you have these 2 calls, and then the rest of it is training.
Yep.
This is me and Mike's favorite sentence right here, right? Because we found each other on Twitter just kind of complaining about LinkedIn. Well, actually, I was complaining and he was just kind of liking. And then we both kind of landed on this thing, and it's one of my favorite statements, and it is his as well. Come on, Bill. Look at him.
I know.
Look at him.
He's up for me now.
You're getting it now.
I know. Well, I only ask questions to people that want to talk to me. I don't just do it flat out to everybody out in the public. I'm not a BDM who's going out and just hitting any old pot, asking who wants to talk,
Oh man, that pains me to my core. Like,
I'm speaking your language, right? Though, like it's you don't just go out there and just drop a bunch of questions to a bunch of random people.
Yeah, I do. Hey, Jake,
you don't target who you talk to.
I do. Well, of course I target. Come on.
Okay,
but sometimes, hey, come on, Mr. Marketer. One-to-many is always a great opportunity because you don't have to worry about the quality of one-to-one. That's a salesperson's issue. I'm a marketer. I get to talk to the masses of people.
That's right.
And you're on your live stream being like, I don't need to do a 30-second commercial or ask any questions. People are just going to get this. Yeah.
Yep. Don't hire me.
Don't hire me.
I'm not here to get hired.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, okay, cool. I have a stacked day today. Very,
Okay.
very stacked. So, yesterday I had that lunch. We went for a walk, and it's Texas, so it's 102 degrees. So I more than got my 30 minutes of activity in yesterday.
Cool.
I have an 8 o'clock. I have a 9 o'clock. I have a 10 o'clock. I have an 11 o'clock. I have a 1 o'clock, and then I have sales practice lab at 2. And I'll probably be and very much introverted John at the end of all that stuff. So I'm going to be needing to game. Yes, sir.
Speaking of that, okay. So we talked about relationship goals.
Yeah.
And I had an observation yesterday, because yesterday was like my first day of really thinking and kind of start putting those feelers out of what's going to work as far as a meaningful interaction, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I got to a couple attempts of trying to engage and nothing happened. And I was like, well, that sucks. And I thought, what can I measure? Not the outputs, right?
Yeah.
I can only measure the attempts, because
you can only measure the attempts.
So if I made the attempts, I can look at it and see how it did and maybe make some adjustments and see it make a better attempt.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't get down on myself because I didn't get the outcome I was looking for.
Yeah, man. I mean, so to put this in a sales context, you made 4 cold calls and didn't get a deal, and you're like, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna go post on LinkedIn about how cold calling is dead.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I went straight from sales to marketing, right?
I'm not in sales. I'm in revenue operations. It's different.
That's right. I'm a revenue officer. Get off me.
Oh man.
Nothing else matters.
So okay. So you, I love that, because we can't chase results. We have to follow our process and focus on the parts that we have control over. So you can control making the ask. You can also control the thoughtfulness you go into looking back to improve those asks, to kind of improve the thing. So the other thing that's super important is you have to, and I don't know anybody else is talking about this, but there's patterns to the relationships you have, right? Even with your kids and your family. So one time I was in a car with, once again, Matt Stifler, and I was kind of explaining, Matt would be a fantastic salesperson if he wanted to do it, but he doesn't want to do it, and that's totally okay. But he has the application and the ability to do it well if he wanted to. So I was explaining to him the work I was doing with my coach, and I was so very excited, and I was explaining this concept of like reversing, which is answering a question with a question and everything else like this. And he goes, well, how does that help? And so I decided to be clever, which is never a great idea. Never be clever. I should know this by now. But I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh, watch this. I'm gonna do this right now, right? And I'm so green, I'm so new, and I'm so unpracticed that I turn to my buddy, who I have like a 12-year relationship with at this point, and I'm like, good question. What should it be doing for you? And he just looks at me and just dies laughing, just guffaws. And he goes, this is how you're talking to people? I was like, well, it's usually a lot better. And it got very defensive and everything. But like, I tell people to go practice these concepts about good conversations with their friends and family members, right? Because strange things happen. Yeah, they do.
Oh God, you doing the thing again, Jake? Is this a thing? Is this another thing? Every
time Melissa brings up a question and I say, well, that's a good question. She knows that I use that on calls and why I use it and everything else like that. And she goes, I know it's a good question. Like, what's the answer? And I'm like, oh, that's right. So pattern and precedent, right? Like, you have a relationship with your kids, right? And so if you just turn a 180 and, this isn't you, but let's say you've been fairly not invested in their lives and stuff like this, and then all of a sudden you're showing up and being overbearing and everything, of course it's going to cause pressure on them because it's not what they're expecting. Right. That's weird. So I think your sample size is small. I also think that this might be new intentional behavior that they're kind of like, am I in trouble? Dad wants to have a talk. Am I in trouble? And everything else like that, because that might be something I would do if all of a sudden my dad was like, well, I would like to have a quick conversation with
right.
But what?
What did I do? What'd you see?
So we have a question. What is Jake drinking this morning?
Gabe, what do you think I'm drinking this morning?
Hold on. Let's go to the movie. Have you closed the deal this morning, sir? I'm just kidding. I can't drink
this then, because I haven't closed any deals this morning.
as powerful as that movie is, the harm it does to the sales
I know.
field
I know.
is
It's such a great
insane.
concept and so well played,
Yeah.
except
That one line. If I could just like, and I love that Alec Baldwin scene, you know, and good Lord, like so many people are like, yeah, that's how you treat salespeople. And like no other experience, no other knowledge, no nothing at all. And they watch one movie
Mhm.
and that defines how salespeople should be treated in their opinion. It's
I know.
crazy.
Context. It's all about context.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Whitlock. Of
What is
course, it's a
up,
good
Jason?
question. I asked it.
So
true.
I'm drinking coffee. Gabe, Gabe did a test for a live stream last night. I popped on there just to see how the stuff looks because he's always got like the fancy graphics and he's got the
I know.
background music going. He's got the effects, and then he's got those smooth Gabe sultry tones. I'm just here.
Yeah, he makes us look like the Kmart of live streams.
Oh gosh, yeah. So Gabe,
Yeah.
where's this going? Where's this going, man? Like I understand you're testing. I'm just what's next? You got your hooks in me with your sparkly backgrounds. So
Hold on a second. Last day serving. Congratulations. It took me a lot longer to get out of serving than you did, just globally. Tomorrow I have a meeting with Future Broker, submitted all my documents, should have my affiliate broker's license by the end of the month. Hell yeah. That is awesome. In version 1 of this show, Michelle didn't even have a real estate license. So this is huge. Congratulations, Michelle. That's awesome.
I need a mic to drop.
Just pick up your whole desk and set it back down again.
There you go. There's a mic in there somewhere. At least headphones.
Yeah.
Congrats, Michelle. That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. Okay,
so
I
yeah.
have an 8 o'clock. So what's
o'clock.
our we mentioned something yesterday off air that we were going to bring up today. What was it? There was one other small piece. We talked about relationship. We talked about just showing stuff too. That was something else. But
Yes.
August 15th, doing another episode. Okay, sweet, awesome.
Who's your live stream for, Gabe? Are you talking to entrepreneur? Like, what's your 30-second commercial for this live stream? Who are you going to be talking to? What are you going to be covering? Why should people be tuning in other than the fancy glitter and sparkles and cool tech? Like,
outside of that beautiful face of yours, why should we come?
Yeah.
So what's the description on your iTunes thing going to say? So that we know whether to click or not.
Yes, that is important because once again,
we're hooking.
You're here, right? You're talking about it on a stream.
And what are you doing these days? What are you working on? You've been MIA, so what's going on?
Yeah, why have you been MIA? And let's get real with the minute and a half we have left to deeply discuss these things before Jake needs to go.
Please bare your soul for the next 68 to 76 seconds, please.
Excuse me. So one thing that Jake and I were talking about yesterday is trying to do a better job of showing some of the work, right? And that's difficult because in some of the work that we're doing, there's NDAs and different things like,
well, we can figure it out.
I have an equity conversation coming up with one of my clients. I'm onboarding a new client. I've got, so some of the stuff we're not really allowed to talk about, but we want to show the process of taking really big goals and breaking them into smaller chunks and focusing on the part that you can control. Because just like Jake talked about like earlier on this call, super easy to get mad that you don't get the outcome that you want. Okay, well, maybe your process isn't really built to get you to the outcome that you want, right? So maybe like in an extreme example, hey guys, I'm here if you want to talk about anything.
Yeah.
That might be his process for engineering a mindful moment with his kids. Is it a good one? No, it's not, but it's at least some effort in trying it out. And then he has to be able to honestly look back and be like, hey, I made that ask, but nothing is happening. Maybe it's on me. Maybe I need to change the quality. Maybe I need to change my process. Maybe I need to do something differently because I'm not getting to the outcome that I want.
Yeah. And the lesson for me was, particularly because I know my audience, which is teenagers, the best place to show up for those are places that they're already asking to go. So
what do you that's
so for example, Scarlett wanted to go shopping for XYZ. I could show up, I could take her and take that opportunity to just unfold some conversation as we're out and as we're going, versus I'm your papa And I would love to hear more about your deep internal life.
If you don't feel comfortable talking to
Share.
me, perhaps you feel comfortable talking to this doll that I just happen to have right here. Like, just go like full
Like
on
I'm not here.
psychologist therapist.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for the clarity on that. You have Captain America, and I have Fry from This Is Shut Up and Take My Money, and Jake has Captain America, and
Yes. I think
yeah,
that'll tell you a thing or two. Also have
is that a Mega Man?
yes.
That's rad,
You'll
dude.
have Mega Man flavored Blue Bomber slushy. But anyway,
That doesn't seem like something you would drink though normally.
I just wanted the can.
Talk about a hook. You
I
put
love
Mega Man on something, and Jake is just going to consume it.
Love me some Mega Man. Some old school Nintendo's way to get me. So
For sure. Okay, so
Okay.
Gabe's Gabe says this is purely entertainment, learning the other side of amazing people, entrepreneurs, musicians, writers, biz developers, and NFT/Web3 creators and developers. Whew.
It's a lifestyle
Nice.
show. I remember asking him the first time around, like, "Hey, what's going on, man? What's the show about?" And he's like, it's just fun. It's just lifestyle. We're just learning about people."
So I'm curious, Gabe, because your show has historically been in the evening. Are you going to keep it at the evening? And do you get good traffic being on the business platform of LinkedIn in the evenings? Because I wouldn't I don't even post on LinkedIn on the weekends. You know, like something amazing could happen, and I'm like, oh, I'll post this Monday at 11 a.m. I'm not posting this on Saturday. It's like LinkedIn on the weekends. Whew, like the hot takes get real hot. Like I don't really get it.
Yeah, that's when everybody comes out.
Yeah, it's
They're like,
it's a mess.
All right, it's Saturday.
Yes. So,
yep. All right.
We got to go. But Gabe, if you're around tomorrow, would love to know your thoughts on doing it in the evening versus doing it in the morning. You know, is it the platform for late evening shows and stuff like that? So, Jake has to go. We don't want to make him late for his meetings and everything else like that. And I need to go get back into deep work mode for all these calls. So we'll see everybody tomorrow. We do have a guest on Friday. It's going to be awesome. He's a content creator who has used his content to get sponsorships and the role at the organization that he wanted to be at, right? He said, there were only a couple of people who I thought were really doing epic, really cool things that I would want to be part of. This is one of those organizations. So very cool to talk to him on Friday. It's going to be rad. You guys should tune in. But thank you to Gabe. Thank you to Michelle. Thank you to Mike Simmons very much. And I appreciate you checking out the show. Jason Whitlock and Small. Let's see. Anybody else? Mike Tao, Dylan Kruger. You guys are all awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you're watching the replay later on,
of course.
Michelle, thank you very much. Hashtag team replay. Drop your questions. Like, give us a big, crazy goal, just even as an example. How would you sell this and do this much revenue? And we could kind of show you guys kind of how we would break it down, how we think about it, and the differences between our different processes, because Jake would approach the problem differently than I do because of his background, and same on my side.
Exactly.
So you guys are awesome. Thank y'all so much. We will talk to you all tomorrow. BiL, if you need anything, I'm here.
Same. Have a good one.